It'd be good if I wasn't muted. But welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando. Joining with me today is, once again, my great co-host, Gary. Keith should be back with us on Sunday. What? Sunday? We have 2 shows now, Gary. 2 shows.
Yes, we do.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. We got some stuff to talk about today, I guess we'll just dive right into some news, notes, and whatever around the league. First off, the Pro Bowl. Did you watch it?
I'll be honest, I didn't. I've seen so many clips from it, but I did not take the time out of my day to watch grown men just play pretty much flag football, honestly.
It's honestly absolutely horrendous. I don't know how many, the viewership must be so bad. I don't know if you can find somehow the viewership that we got over the weekend watching that game, but I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it at all. I didn't watch the whole weekend worth of Pro Bowl. But some takeaways that I did research and find out, and of course through clips and everything. LSU receivers, they're obviously elite. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., they all went to the end zone, got into the end zone. Then again, are we surprised that people got into the end zone? No, because it was a 76-63 final score. I mean, it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see if it was an NFL game, I must say.
Yeah.
But JSN, Jackson Njigba, he threw a pick 6.
I did see that, and I saw that he said, "I'm retiring from playing quarterback."
So. That was actually the funniest thing ever. I was like, retiring. I was like, what is he on about? And then I saw the clip, and I was like, oh, yeah, I would retire too. It's something I would probably do. I would probably do that in backyard football. Football race was pretty cool. Saw a little clip of that. It was the one with 5 different race stages. Where they went through these big cardboard things and bowling pins, kickers, whatnot. It seemed pretty cool. Again,
I didn't see it at all. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I don't blame you. Everyone loved the foam pit, all the players. I think that was the biggest takeaway from it. Everybody was just on point. They just flipped into it, and I think that was the biggest hype the whole time. So if you're telling me the biggest hype is a foam pit at a Pro Bowl, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing was, granted, it might be hard to do, but nobody got hurt, I guess, doing any of that.
Someone got hit in the face.
Oh, really?
It was on accident, of course, but they got kicked in the face when one of them flipped. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't anything crazy, serious, or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see someone get kicked in the face.
Well, it's just a good thing, I guess, that none of them got injured, because that's, I feel like, always the biggest thing with the Pro Bowl is that, obviously they don't try anymore, mainly for that, but, just good that nobody got hurt.
I think I don't really remember the last time someone actually got hurt from the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, like I said,
nothing
they don't
serious,
anyways. They don't try anymore, so it's like it honestly would probably be pretty hard to get injured in the Pro Bowl, but
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I think what they should do is because no players really want to go to the Pro Bowl anymore. So I think I made a little clip of it and I posted on social media that I think what they should do is do Hail Marys, who can complete the most Hail Mary attempts or whatnot. I don't know, something along those lines. Who can have the longest pass, the longest air yard pass? Put a running back at the 0-yard line, and just put a bunch of defenders and see how many defenders can you get around. I don't know, these cool little skills games. Fastest players. Put Tyreek in there with, I don't know, another fast guy, Malik Neighbors, or someone along the lines of being really, really fast. Who can win? It's like a 40-yard dash. I don't know. I think make it more interesting because, for instance, the MLB. We watch the home run derby because that's interesting.
Right.
The dunk contests or whatnot. I don't know. NBA wise, do you watch the All-Star games?
Yes. Well, definitely more than I pay attention to this, which is kind of ironic because football is the sport I watch the most. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. They do stupid stuff now. Like I saw a clip of Miles Garrett doing like trivia. Like, like trivia? Are we serious? This is what the NFL Pro Bowl has come to now. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm a big trivia guy myself, but if I'm tuning in to watch an NFL Pro Bowl event, it's not necessarily the first thing I'd pay attention to.
No, it's just bad. It's so
Stupid.
bad.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me, and I'm going to quote this from the fantasy footballers. You're telling me that we're having the best players playing the Pro Bowl, but just not the bestest players because we got the
Yeah.
Super Bowl with the Eagles and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's weird.
Something needs to be fixed there. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
probably.
Let's go into some other stuff. Melbourne in Australia. They are going to host the first ever NFL regular season game in Australia in 2026. Rams versus Eagles. This is a multi-year commitment of the NFL having games in Australia. Not sure if it's every year in Melbourne, but at the moment, it's Melbourne that they're going to try and get the first game with the Rams and the Eagles. I'm pumped to see.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know this was just announced only a few hours ago, I believe, right? And the
Yeah,
Rams were announced as the home team, so that's definitely a pretty cool thing. It's something that we've talked about a couple months ago. I remember towards the beginning of when I was in school, so it's probably around the beginning of the season, like September. We had mentioned that Goodell is trying to expand the game, and
yeah.
I mean, going to a totally separate continent like Australia is definitely a way to do that. So definitely a cool thing that the NFL is doing.
What about the time zone? I mean, that's what, 13, 14 something hours difference?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that, well, I mean, it's going to be intriguing to see how they go about that.
I'm curious to see if they're gonna play it on like a Friday night here,
Mm,
and it's like a Saturday like midday kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I guess that would make the most sense, but I don't know. I don't actually know the difference. Let me see.
Um, I while you were looking that up, I was actually when I first saw the teams get announced, I was like, oh, I'm hyped because I'm gonna go study abroad in that side of the world, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go over there, and I'm gonna go like I did with London. I'm gonna go and check out Australia's game until I got my heart broken and I found out it was 2026
Mm,
because I will be on that side of the world in 2025, the end of the year of 2025, and I was gonna go. I would have went to the Spain game this upcoming season if I was in Europe still, but since I'm gonna be outside of Europe. I'm not gonna be able to see it because it's in damn 2026.
yeah, that's tough. But I did just look it up. Australia is a 16
Oh
hour
my
difference
goodness!
from
Oh,
New York, so Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern.
So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna go about that. Like if they play it at like I don't even know 8 o'clock their time at like night. Like what's
8
that?
no 8 p.m. 8 p.m. here.
8
It'd
p.m.
be it'd be 4 p.m. over there. No, I
Mhm.
that's completely wrong. I
No, no,
think
no.
12 p.m. 12 p.m. 12 p.m.
Yeah, yeah. So it'd be like midday. So I feel like that would make sense, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Have
they might
have
do something
have
like
a
that.
Friday night, Thursday night football.
Yeah, even that would be crazy. The first international Thursday night football game.
Oh, we saw that with Brazil, no?
No,
In
that
Sao
was a
Paulo,
Friday
Brazil.
game. That was a
Oh,
Friday
it
game.
was a Friday game. You're right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
intriguing. Maybe they'll do Friday.
Mm.
Speaking on games and whatnot in international waters from the U.S., it looks like Roger Goodell's meeting. They talked about 18 games. It's again not set in stone. He's been talking with the Player Association and everything, but there's been casual conversations about moving the games from 17 games to 18 games in a season. Basically, they would eliminate another preseason game, which again, perfectly fine with. And then obviously, he also mentioned that there is a great possibility there we will see an international team eventually. So those are two big things because one, more revenue for the teams, which means more money to teams and players. Another thing for the international team is I think that if this Australian game really works out in favor of the NFL, that we are really going to see heavily the years following a team coming in.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on this, to be honest with you. If it's not a Canadian team, I don't like it. I'll be honest.
Okay,
Because,
you're saying for one team, if it's one team.
well, yeah, if it's one team, or no, to be honest with you, I don't think there should be a team outside of North America. I really don't. And I don't know if that's what the rumor is that it's going to be. I think it is. That's what the rumor is.
Mhm.
Like a team like in England or like London or something like that. Um, I don't like it. I really don't. I think the travel is going to be too much, and team or players are saying that they don't want to have an 18 game season or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was talked about a lot today. I don't know how they're going to feel if you know one or 2 weeks. I mean, we're going to talk about a team. This is going to be a team in a division, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to talk about three teams playing them twice a year. That's going to be twice the travel that some other team I have to take. So I mean,
Okay, so let me
well,
ask you this
I
question.
guess they're only going there once, but you know what I mean. Like it's I don't know. I personally don't like it. I'll be honest.
Let me ask you this question though. What if we somehow had a division where it was four teams,
Mm.
all international, and they come to the States to play?
I mean, I just feel like
Because if you think about it, each of those teams, they'll have to play each other twice. So that's already 6 games that they're playing. If we go to 18 games, then that means there needs to be, what, 11 more games than a bye week?
mhm,
So, I mean, at that rate, then are you coming? That means you'd have to have 5 home games, 5 more home games, 5 more away games. I mean, the 5 games at home over there, the following United States teams that go over there and play, they would have a bye week.
mm,
Now, about the 5 weeks here, I don't know, but I mean
mhm,
that's the only potential. But I like your take on it should only be in North America, or even South America. I think South America we can also be fine with because of the time zone difference.
mhm.
There's not much of a time zone difference. With Brazil, it seemed to be okay, just not the way the soccer field was. Not so good. But I think I could see a Mexico team, a Canadian team, like we've seen in the NHL, the NBA, the MLB.
I don't know. It's different because those other sports are like nationally known.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, football is called American football by foreigners for a reason. Like
you got that. You
ba-
got that right. You
yeah.
got that right over
I mean,
here.
basketball is huge in like China and France and stuff like that. Baseball is big in Asia as well. Um, Hockey's big in Europe, but no one plays football outside of the U.S. So we'll see. We'll see, but definitely be intriguing because it's very new. So
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what will happen. I think by 2030, I think we're going to really find out what will happen with the NFL and will there be an expansion teams outside of the United States, and if so, where?
yeah, we'll see.
Let's go into some other news. Josh Jacobs. He mentioned that the Packers need a number one wide receiver in 2025, and he is open to a Devontae Adams reunion. Now, Devontae Adams, I think only wants to play with Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. It's the only two quarterbacks he really wants, mainly Aaron Rodgers. But if he doesn't think Aaron Rodgers can take him to the Super Bowl, and if that is what Devontae Adams wants, then I think this is a great opportunity. to go to the Packers, back to the Packers. We know Christian Watson isn't wide receiver 1. Honestly, I don't even think he's wide receiver 2, maybe 3. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, I think they're better than Christian Watson. But there's not true wide receiver 1, and I agree with Aaron Jones. Should Devontae Adams go there, is my question to you. But do you also agree with Aaron Jones on getting wide receiver 1?
I mean, I absolutely love it. Like the thought of Devontae Adams returning to the Packers, because you know how much I love my Packers as my NFC team. But I think the bigger thing that we should be talking about here is the civil divide that's happening on the Packers, because Dontavian Wicks didn't like that Josh Jacobs said that. I don't know if you saw that as well, but he tweeted out kind of just like laughing emojis at what Josh Jacobs had said, at the fact that they don't have a true wide receiver 1, which I feel like, you know, the common public would say that they don't. I completely agree with that. But I guess, you know, within your own team, you probably shouldn't say that. And Wicks took offense to it, so we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, I mean, I love the thought of Devontae Adams going back to Green Bay, just for the so many years that we saw him there. He was a spectacular player. And, you know, he picked it up towards the end of the season. I think that spark is certainly still there. And I love Jordan Love. I think he's going to be great. And you know, he's great now, but I think only, you know, the future is not going to hold him back. I think he's got so much stuff in store for the future of the NFL. So we'll see what happens there. But I think I would agree with Josh Jacobs that they need a true wide receiver 1. But is Devontae Adams the answer? I don't know. He is getting older. So
yeah, and obviously with how young that whole team, the team as a whole is, I think they're going to want to probably go younger, in my opinion. To answer your thing about Dontavian Wicks, it's him, as you know, you could add him into the mix. There is a wide receiver 1, you could say, every single week. But when reality hits, is this wide receiver core a Super Bowl worthy core to take you to the Super Bowl? No. The answer is no. You just don't see that. You can't see that. You put someone like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., some big name guys like that you could have drafted this past year into that lineup. I could say that these Packers could definitely have gone to the Super Bowl, because I think Jordan Love's production, his production as a whole, would be so much better. So much better.
no, I certainly agree with that. And the Packers, I mean, they're kind of known to not take wide receivers in the first round, which is not a great thing, especially towards the end of Aaron Rodgers' tenure there. He always wanted them to, and they just wouldn't. And I feel like that was one of the biggest things in the bridges burning there. So we'll see what they do this year. I wouldn't necessarily say that wide receiver in the draft is the top of their priorities, because the wide receiver core is very, very solid. Like, you could say any of those guys are wide receiver 1, but whoever you have as their wide receiver 3 is probably at the top of the league in that position. So it's definitely something that we'll look forward to as the draft come April. I'm so excited for the draft, not just because my Browns have a lot of capital, but I think it's going to be such a good draft for the league because it's so deep.
Yeah, I'm also excited. And for anyone who's currently listening, of course, we will be having live mock drafts on the show. We're going to have fantasy rookie mock drafts later on in the year for dynasty teams. And I think it's going to be a fun offseason, especially doing 2 shows. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about. A lot of different things, a lot of mock drafts, everything. Again, go follow us all over social media at SportsTimeHQ. We got you with all the content. All right, let's go into some more notes real quick. Mason Crosby, great kicker of the Green Bay Packers, one of the greats known there. He's announcing retirement. I don't think he played on the team for the past, season or 2?
Yeah, I don't think he was on a team last year or this past season. I feel like he was on the Packers 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that was the last year. But yeah, he was great throughout his career. Was not really good at the end of his career. So this was kind of expected. He's really old.
Yeah, damn. Hopefully Mason Crosby doesn't listen to that comment right there. JJ McCarthy, he is asking for, in quotes, fair opportunity in his 2025 return. And I'm all on board with him because
Here we
I think,
go. Here we go. Yes, sir.
listen, he needs a fair opportunity. You're telling me, all right, Sam Darnold brought you to a 14-3 team. Can he do that again? I don't know. Was it just a Cinderella season that we see with some certain teams every year? We don't know. Does Sam Darnold stay there? We don't know. Is Aaron Rodgers going to follow Brett Favre's path and go to the Vikings? We don't know. There's so many we don't know scenarios with the Vikings, and that is the issue. And you drafted JJ McCarthy because you saw potential in him. So if you're not going to keep him, if you're not going to give him a fair chance, then trade him away. You're just wasting a first round talented quarterback who should have probably won Rookie of the Year this year. Had to say it. You got to give him a chance. I think obviously the NFL is so hard to get into, but if you're a first round talent and you get drafted as a first round, you need to have a chance. Shoot, Josh Rosen got a chance with multiple teams, and you're telling me JJ McCarthy won't have that? He has to.
No, I do agree with you. I think he should be given a fair shot, especially considering the fact that I feel like Sam Darnold's extent to what he can give you is limited. I mean, we saw that at the end of the season, and to be honest with you, he's 30, I think, already. So, how much more is he going to be able to give you? I don't know. I would definitely give JJ McCarthy a shot. You spent a lot of draft capital on him for a reason, so they clearly saw something. I think they're going to give him a fair shot, even if they were to sign Sam Darnold back. Although I don't see happening, but we'll see.
You said Sam Darnold was. You think?
I'm sorry, you kind of
Did
broke up
we?
there. What'd you say?
Were you saying that Sam Darnold was 30, or
Yeah,
thinking
what
that
is he?
he's around 30?
27? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
20. He's 27.
Is he
JJ
27?
McCarthy
Okay.
is. Yeah, and JJ McCarthy is 22, I believe. Yeah, 22.
Yeah, so I was saying Sam Darnold. I guess he's definitely a little bit younger than I thought. But I feel like we saw kind of the peak of Sam Darnold, and I could definitely be wrong, but he just went off this year, and on the biggest stage of his career, he did not produce. They kind of got bullied that game versus the Rams. So it'll definitely be a situation to keep an eye on because JJ McCarthy definitely has the tools to be a successful quarterback in this league. So we'll see.
Put him on the Raiders. I kind of want to see what he could do with the Raiders.
Don't hate
Give
it.
him
Don't
drafted.
hate it. Yeah, don't hate it if they draft like a wide receiver, like if they get T-Mac or something like that in the draft. Like I could see that young trio of him, T-Mac, and Bowers
Jacoby
doing.
Myers,
Yep,
Bowers.
Jacoby Myers there too. Yeah, I could see them being okay.
Maybe sign a running back in free agency, a good one.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
there's
Zamir
opportunity
White was
there.
a strikeout, so
Strike one, strike two, strike three.
yeah,
All running backs were strikeouts.
yeah.
Let's go into Kirk Cousins. My cousin over here. He's unsure about the Falcons. He's not knowing if Falcons is really his future after signing that big contract. I mean, I don't blame him because I would say that too when you saw Michael Penix get drafted in the first round after he just signed that major contract. But he kind of wants to have like a new life in the NFL because he still thinks that he has a lot of good football left in him. Now, I think he's a pretty decent quarterback. I just think the landing spot with the Falcons, I think the Falcons are doomed, honestly, because Drake London, he's good. Hasn't really broken out to really this big top dog guy that we were expecting. Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson has had good seasons, but kind of just under the radar type of good seasons. I mean, this team I think I want to see Kirk Cousins somewhere else. Somewhere else.
I certainly agree with that, especially considering the fact that these guys drafted Penix without even telling Kirk Cousins that that's what they were going to do.
Terrible.
So that's definitely some shady stuff going on there. And I would love to say Browns just take him on, but I don't even know if they could afford him and Watson
That'd be
together.
intriguing.
Yeah, it would definitely be a situation to look out for because even if they were to do that, I feel like they might still draft a quarterback, which I think they're 100% going to do now. I think they're going with the wrist up. I think they're going to go Shadir Sanders. But if Kirk Cousins, shows that he wants to get out of there and the Falcons are
Hmm.
willing to eat a bunch of that contract, I'll definitely say we're a team to watch out for to get him.
That'd be
But
nice.
if the Falcons don't eat a lot of his contract, then I don't know who would want him,
Yeah,
to
that's
be
the
honest
thing.
with
The big contract that he has, it really comes down to, is a team maybe willing to pay half of it? And if
you.
it is the case, now how much are you giving for Kirk Cousins?
Right, exactly.
I'd probably give. How old is Kirk Cousins? How old are we thinking? 36,
Like,
35?
yeah, I was gonna say 34.
Let's see. But I'm thinking like maybe depending on his age, 35. Sorry, third, fourth round pick. The
Yeah,
max that I would trade for him.
yeah.
His age right now is 36.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
So I'd probably give a third or fourth. Fourth, maybe. I'd probably maybe a
yeah. I think
fourth.
the
And
fourth is the max I would give up.
yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. This is going to be an interesting offseason, though, I tell you. Speaking of
Yeah,
an interesting offseason, we have two big requests in trades. That is, yeah, you already heard the sigh from Gary. Miles Garrett has officially had requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Now, he did consult with another all-star player, but this all-star player was not from the NFL. He consulted with LeBron James. Gary, first, before we talk about landing spots for him, talk to me about what your thoughts and reactions are as a Browns fan.
my thoughts and reactions, Freddie. I went to class at 11 o'clock, and I walked out of class at 11:04 and went to my dorm and laid in my bed.
No
I
way.
was swear to God, I was not doing it. Yeah, it hit me like a truck. Can't say I didn't see it coming, I guess. I just didn't want to have to see it coming. He's given us everything, and I can't blame him. I'm not going to be like, oh, there's no loyalty in the NFL. I hate you, Miles Garrett. No, he's been with us for 7 seasons and has broken so many records. He's given us all something that we've been so happy to see. And to be honest with you, since he's been here, he's been one of only single digit amount of bright spots for the Cleveland Browns. So I'll always love him and what he did for the Browns. But yeah, once I got that notification, I was very upset. I swear to God, I left class and was not doing it today. I'm not doing it that day.
That is brutal. Not to mention he is
Yeah,
a four-time first team All Pro, two-time second team All Pro, six-time Pro Bowler, and not to mention 2023 Defensive Player
defensive
of
player of the
the
year.
Year.
Yep, great player.
I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal. I feel bad for you, but I mean, this is just the Browns fans. Unfortunately, it's just how it goes. But it depends really now on if you trade Miles Garrett away. Is this a complete rebuild team again? Which it looks like it could be both a rebuild team, but also a playoff team. Just think,
Well,
last year you were in the playoffs with Joe Flacco.
well, the thing is, so here's the breakdown. The reason why Miles Garrett requested a trade is because, there's been a talk the past month or so that he wants to know what direction the team's going in. And our GM, Andrew Berry, said that, they're going to do a small rebuild. It's about a 2-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably going to draft a quarterback, is what I gained, because he came out and said he doesn't want us to draft a quarterback.
Yep.
And seeing that he requested a trade, that kind of tells me what direction our GM Andrew Berry is thinking of going. So, it's definitely a tough situation because, man, I feel like we've been in a rebuild ever since I was born, and even before that. But yeah,
I think I
I
think me too as a Patriots fan, right?
God, if only. Oh man, if only. Yeah. No, you guys have been terrible forever.
My goodness. I mean, I guess we'll have to see what happens where he goes. And to go on with that is some of the best fits is the Detroit Lions, the Commanders, Cardinals, Bears, Packers, Eagles, Chargers, Falcons, and Patriots.
Yeah. No, I did see the Patriots were named, but honestly, I'll be completely honest with you, they were actually one of the teams that I initially thought of for spots for him to land. But I mean, let's be honest, like as much promise as Drake May and the team itself has, they're not a contending team right now, and that's where he wants to go. So, I've seen teams like the Panthers come up, the Patriots come up, the Bears come up. Like these, I'm sorry, there's no chance that he goes to any of these
Listen,
teams
he's
because
29. He's 29. He's still a little young. He could work with the Patriots.
I,
Give him like 2-3 years.
I don't think so. Because give him 2-3 years, that's what we told him, and he said that he doesn't want that.
But first of all,
So
his fault is being on the Browns. That's issue number one. Issue number
it's his
two
fault where he was
is
drafted.
yes, and issue
Okay.
number two, he ended up having Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston and I'm sorry, who Dorian Thomas Robinson, who else trashed quarterbacks?
Well, the bottom line is he wants to win a championship, and I think you yourself can say the Patriots aren't going to win a championship in the next 2-3 years. So,
We
with
could.
that being said, okay. With that being said, I think the most likely teams are Lions, Commanders. He himself said,
I would love to see him.
he
I mean, if he goes to one of those teams, I mean, not to mention like Aiden Hutchinson,
and him would
pair
go
him. Oh my
absolutely insane.
goodness.
But I did see today he said Jaden Daniels is taking the league by storm, and a lot of people are going to want to go play with him. So maybe that's potentially hinting that he wants to go there. I don't know. I think from the Browns standpoint, now that he has requested a trade, you have to trade him. Not necessarily for the fact that you're giving him what he wants, which I think you should do, just because he's given us
Yeah.
everything. I think it's more so the fact that this is the most leverage you're going to get, which it's not a
Yeah.
lot because he's already requested a trade. So you're already not going to have that much leverage. Don't let him sit for a year because he and his team said he will hold out. Don't let him do that for a year and then get the minimum for him because he only has 1 year left on his contract.
You're,
You know
you're
what I'm
wasting
saying?
his career. You're wasting an all-star player's career, who
That,
probably
yeah,
who
but it's
probably should be
also
in a Hall of Famer.
yeah, no, he will. But yeah, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer by the time his career is over. But yes, of course, you're wasting his talent. But also, you have to think about yourself. What are you going to get? Do you want to? They already said that they're going to hold out, and it's not to get a
Yeah.
contract; it's to go somewhere else. So, are you going to sit here now while he's admitted that he's going to hold out and say, okay, we're not going to trade you. You're going to be on this team. If you're not going to play, then that's fine, but you're going to be on the team. That makes absolutely no sense. Then a year later from now, try to trade him and get half the value of what you could get now. It makes absolutely no sense. I think that they should be trying to trade him now as we speak because this upcoming draft, I cannot stress it enough, is so deep. And we already have the most draft capital in the league going into this draft. Get more.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I would hope that the Browns would at least help Myles Garrett get to where he needs to be and be on a new team.
Yeah, I agree.
Another trade, Cooper Kupp. The Rams informed him that they are seeking a trade, and not only are they seeking a trade, but they are seeking a trade immediately. Best landing spots based on DraftKings. The favorites are the Steelers, then followed by the Bengals. I'm guessing because of T. Higgins possibly not being there. Commanders, Patriots, Chargers, Broncos, and Cowboys, all within 1,000.
I'll be honest; those are just some weird teams to me.
The Bengals
It's
shouldn't
gonna,
be there. The Bengals should be
yeah,
there.
it just feels so weird to see the Bengals be there. The Steelers I already knew because they were rumored earlier in the
Yeah.
season when Cup was a trade rumor when they were initially struggling. So they don't surprise me, especially considering the fact that they're probably going to be in trade rumors for all free agent and tradable wide receivers. So them being there doesn't surprise me. The Bengals, yeah, they just I think people always connect them with the wide receiver position because they've been so loaded with wide receivers the past couple of years. But that really seems weird to me. The Cowboys, I don't think getting a great wide receiver too is really the top of their needs. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Chargers, I guess I could see. Um, but at the same time, they're also another team that's like young, and I don't know if they want to mess that up by going out and getting an older Cooper Cup. We'll kind of have to monitor that because I personally feel like Cooper Cup's on a huge decline.
I agree, unfortunately, because Cooper Cup was really, really, really good. And I think ever since the emergence of Puka Nakua, it's kind of just been very big switch. And we kind of saw this with Robert Woods before when Cooper Cup was injured a couple times, and then Robert Woods left. I personally think if you're adding any of these teams on a list, I think the Steelers, yes, should be the number one. Commanders, I could see maybe put him with Terry McLaurin, one on one side, one on the other. Patriots, I can only just see as a bridge player. I prefer
Hmm.
more T. Higgins over Puka Nakua. I would love Puka Nakua. Cooper Cup. Chargers, again, same thing. Kind of just a bridge player, mentor player for these young guys. Um, Bills was 1,300, and they were the next ones. I could see, but we saw that with Amari Cooper and how that turned out.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I think there's not going to be that big of a trade interest for this. And like you mentioned, the draft class is so deep in wide receivers. Why should these teams go out and spend their draft capital on this guy,
exactly. And
who was a triple crown winner? I will say.
yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, it's gonna be so weird to see him wear any jersey besides the Rams.
Yes.
Like I'm just thinking about it, like when you brought up the Bengals, like besides the fact that they just sound like a weird team for him to go, to me personally, just thinking about him like wearing the Bengals black and orange stripes, like weird. It's gonna be weird to see him not in the Rams yellow and blue.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll have to see. And we'll talk more about free agency and more trade rumors within the next month or so, because obviously the new league starts in March, beginning of March. And that's when free agents can sign wherever they want. Um, Last two notes. Notes have been a lot, but I think these are really good notes to have. Before we dive into some of the biggest disappointments, biggest surprises of the year, first ever president to attend the Super Bowl. President Donald Trump projected to go to the Super Bowl. Um,
Awesome.
I think this is more of just a surprise that he's the first president to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I would think there would be more presidents that would want to go see it.
agreed.
And have you seen? I don't know if I know you have TikTok. Have you seen Jameis Winston and his?
TikTok, I have not.
Oh my goodness, you got to go watch on Fox Sports. You know what he's doing? He was interviewing all these Super Bowl players: Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, asking them, "I got one question. I got one question for you. What's your favorite color?" and you know what? He goes, "I also have another question." Oh, he asked DeAndre Hopkins. He's like, "I'd love to play. I'd love to throw to you. Now I'm gonna throw you a W." And he'd be throwing all these players W cookies, because obviously for anyone who knows, he's got the W's that he eats all the
Hmm.
time. This guy is just I don't know, whichever person in Fox thought about having Jameis Winston, giving him a microphone and going to ask questions on players is just the best thing in the world. Like this guy, girl, whoever it is, deserves a raise, because Jameis Winston is such a sensation.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it, but I saw that he got like whatever it was, some kind of position to be some social media person or whatever it was. And yeah, I mean, he's a character. He's very, very funny. And he's a great locker room guy to have. I know that he's been rumored to go to a team like the Titans and the Giants. Um, So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I loved watching him in the time that he played this year. He made watching football fun again, even though if or whether it was throwing a touchdown for us or the other team, it was no stress football. Even though
Yeah.
we were losing, I didn't care. So
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, this guy's just great. Great to watch.
yeah, yes.
You got any more news and notes? I know we've got a lot, but that's all we
No, I
got.
mean, I think it's a good thing that we had a lot because to be honest with you, the past like 3 weeks we haven't had Jack. So
Yeah, so true. Let's quickly go into our head coaching carousel, and this is just wanting to let everyone know there is one team left that has yet to sign someone, and that is the New Orleans Saints. Now, their top priority is right now the Eagles' offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. That is the sole reason why he hasn't signed there is one because the Eagles are still playing. They
right.
got the Super Bowl, so we may see Kellen Moore go and be a head coach for the Saints next season. Gary, before we move on to the biggest topics of the show today, I want to ask you if Kellen Moore, hypothetically, he does go to the Saints, between Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen, Kellen Moore, Pete Carroll, and Brian Schottenheimer, which first year head coach is going to be in the hot seat after the first season?
Probably, I want to say Schottenheimer because the Cowboys are always, this team that's expected to go to the playoffs. Um, but out of those names, I really don't know because I think the league loves Ben Johnson. So
Hmm,
if he is to, fail at first, I think they're going to give him a second chance. Um, Vrabel, I think, is different than um, Gerard Mayo. I think it's a
agreed.
totally different situation. Um, Honestly, I don't know if there will be. I could see Kellen Moore or Schottenheimer probably being the top two, if I had to guess.
I would agree with you with Schottenheimer. I would also say this Jaguars head coach, who is he? The
McCullen?
one that
Right.
the,
Yeah.
the one that says Duval.
Yeah. Very
I
cringy.
mean, so cringy, but so funny. You know, he's a Rhode Island native.
Is he really? Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, he's a Rhode Island native. St. Bishop's, I think he coached at.
Oh, wow.
Coached or played. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
That's
yeah,
pretty
he's a
cool.
Rhode Island native. So congrats on a Rhode Islander getting there.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, Rhode Island really showing us
He's from
proud.
Warwick. Wow.
Yeah, he's
That's
from
crazy.
Warwick. Isn't
Wow, he
that
is.
wild? Isn't that
Yeah.
wild? Yeah.
I mean, for anybody watching that doesn't know, that's where me and Fernando had grown up. So that's why we're kind of surprised at what we're seeing.
Warwick, Rhode Island, this guy is from William
Yeah,
Cohen.
that's crazy. That's why.
And he did Warwick, Rhode Island dirty by starting his press conference with
Yeah.
Duval.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my goodness. I can't. It's so funny. But I think he could also be on the hot seat. And not that I want him to be on the hot seat, but I think the reason why is because the expectations are so high with that team to go to the playoffs. But again, Doug Peterson wasn't the problem. And I don't think Liam Cohen's going to be the problem again. I think it's going to be Trevor
Agreed.
Lawrence. So,
Agreed.
yeah, that's all I got for head coach carousel. You got anything else that you want to
Sounds
talk
good to
about?
me.
All right, let's go on to our biggest surprises of 2024. I'll start with mine. Biggest surprise for me was Saquon Barkley.
Mhm.
And Saquon Barkley is truly an amazing running back. I mean, I've never seen a running back this great. Like, I knew he was going to be good. Don't get me wrong. I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to take the league by storm with this new team with the Eagles and really do really, really good. I mean, this guy was lights out this year, and if they go to the Super Bowl, you could pretty much say that running backs are a big deal. Last year, CMC really helped the 49ers go to the Super Bowl. This year, Barkley has helped the Eagles go to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's been really great to see Barkley and really see him on a team that can actually win a Super Bowl.
Did I see him going over 2,000 yards? No. But I was. honestly all in on Saquon. Besides the fact that his injury status is always there, I was
Mhm.
all in on Saquon because, or for the same reason that I was all in on Derrick Henry. That you're talking about the two guys that have always been at the top of the league in terms of best running backs in the league, going to already run heavy teams that are very, very good. I mean, the RPO, just the offensive line help that they have there. It doesn't surprise me at all that he went absolutely berserk. Like I said, 2,000 yards. I can't say I was expecting I'd be completely wrong, but I definitely saw him erupting in Philly, and I'm happy for him because I've never been the biggest Saquon believer, but like I mentioned earlier, that's always because he's got that lingering injury
Yeah.
issue. But when he plays, man, I love watching him play, and I can easily say he's the best running back in the league.
Backwards hurdle was insane.
The best play, I'll be honest, the most athletic play I think I've ever seen on a football field.
100% agree with you. I completely agree with you.
It was crazy.
Uh, who is, or who, not maybe not who, but what is some of your biggest surprises? Maybe some teams.
Yeah, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I just wanted to talk about, some of the biggest surprising teams this year, and I think that's headlined by two AFC West teams, the Chargers and the Broncos. I mean, I'll be honest with you, if you told me before the season that both Chargers and Broncos were going to be going to the playoffs, I would have laughed in your face. At least the Broncos, the Chargers, some people believed in them, but I really didn't at all. I thought it was going to take Harbaugh a couple more years to get acclimated into the league, and it really didn't. That defense stepped up this year. They played great. Of course, they kind of got decimated in the playoffs when they faced the Texans, but um, besides that, they were great. And it's the same thing with the Broncos. Got decimated by the Bills come playoff time, but man, I don't think any of us saw Bo Nix doing at all what he did this year. And to talk about some NFC teams, Vikings and Commanders, I mean, again, none of us saw the Vikings going 14-3.
No.
Of course, they also got decimated by the Rams come playoff time, but Darnold was fantastic this year. He's going to get paid a bag, and Jaden Daniels completely flipped around the Commanders team. I think what he did for the Commanders is going to be the new reason or the new way that teams look in the draft when drafting so high up and early. Like I'm gonna talk about the Browns again. They're a team that may need so many differences, but the front office is gonna look and say, look at what Jaden Daniels did. Because to be completely honest with you, Commanders didn't bring in that much change. A few coaching moves here and there, but that defense wasn't totally different up until the trade deadline, at least when they got Marshall Lattimore. That team's been pretty much the exact same. Once they drafted Jaden Daniels, it changed like that. So I think it's going to be a stepping stone for teams in their drafting process going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, first with the AFC side, Broncos, I thought Bo Nix would be good, but I didn't think he was going to be this good and really be able to bring the Broncos to the playoffs. Same thing with the Chargers. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, we know how successful of a coach he was. Was he a coach to come back and change the team around? I guess so. The Commanders, yeah, sensational by Jaden Daniels. All love for Jaden Daniels and that Commanders team. Um, and then going to the Vikings, I'll kind of go with my also biggest surprise with Sam Darnold. He finds success in Minnesota. I mean, to compare what you and I were talking about with the Vikings, this Vikings team, I was expecting lose the first 2, 3, 4 games, switch to JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy goes down. He's out for the year. Sam Darnold stays in as quarterback the whole time. I mean, Sam Darnold, we saw seeing ghosts in New York. We didn't expect
Right.
him to be this great and lead the team to a 14-win team. So I think team wise, I think I would have to say that the Vikings is probably the biggest surprise because not only did we not think that the Vikings were going to be this good, we didn't think that they were even going to have like, I don't know, 5, 6 wins maybe.
Yeah, no, I can definitely say that. If I had to pick one out of these four teams, I would say the Commanders, just due to the fact that, I mean, they had the number 2 overall pick this past year. And
And now they what? They have the number 3, number 4 last pick in the draft this year.
Yeah, right, exactly. They went 12-5 and went to the NFC Championship. So them and the Texans from last season um, are, like I said, a stepping stone, a blueprint for teams in the future going forward. And the Commanders for me, Vikings for you, are the biggest team surprises of the year.
Yeah, and I'll go with my last one: the rookies, uh, just breaking out and just really taking the league by storm. We know rookies come in. There's some rookies that really do very well, and some that don't. And we saw a lot of offensive rookies do so well. Brock Bowers taking the lead by storm, being the number 1 tight end of the year. Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors with no quarterback. Jaden Daniels, like we were mentioning with the Commanders, taking a rookie quarterback taking a team to the NFC Championship. Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, Lad McConkey, Drake May. I mean, there's a lot of rookies, and there's a lot of rookie defensive players too that I didn't name that have just been sensational and really, really good. And I think we're going to see that maybe, hopefully, maybe in this year's draft class as well.
I remember thinking, and I know I was not alone on this whatsoever, um, due to Vegas odds and the common public, we all thought that Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be by far the rookie of the year. We thought
How many people? How
easily,
many people put him as rookie of the year? Like,
right,
I think all 3 of us did,
exactly.
and like wild.
And he was the clear favorite, and everybody thought that it was going to happen. I don't even know if I would put him like top 10, like, to be honest with you. There
Yeah,
were
it was bad.
so many good rookies this year, and that's not necessarily to say that Marv had a terrible season. At the end of the day, it's his rookie year, and him and Kyler had mentioned that the chemistry has not been there, and he still had definitely a solid season. Was it what we thought? Absolutely not. But that just goes to show how good the rookie year was. You talked about it, the wide receivers, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, um, definitely forgetting a couple here, but they all went off, and the quarterbacks, Daniels, Nix, May, they all looked good. Once McCarthy gets a shot, maybe we can say his name as well. So, yeah, this draft class was one for the ages.
One for the ages, indeed. Let's go on to some of the biggest disappointments of the year, and I'll start with second-year slumps for quarterbacks. Unfortunately, it's just how it came to be. Um, Bryce Young, he was kind of up and down, kind of went up towards the end of the year. CJ Stroud, I mean, he was my guy. I absolutely loved him, and I expected him to go to the Super Bowl this year, or at least make it to the AFC Championship. But he also had a slump. Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, I said he was going to be a bust this year, but a lot of people were all in on him. It didn't turn out to be. Will Levis, another guy. Dorian Thomas Robinson, Jake Hayner, Aiden O'Connell, all these second-year guys, no one really shined this year. And I hate to say it, CJ Stroud being the biggest name, he still didn't shine as much as we wanted him to.
No, I agree, and I'm laughing because you brought up DTR, who is the worst quarterback I've ever seen play. Uh, and it's crazy for that a Browns fan saying that. Um, you know, yeah, Stroud was our guy coming into this year. Definitely did not live up to the year that he had last year. Sophomore slump for sure. Bryce Young, we talked about him a lot towards the end of the year. He was our fantasy quarterback of the week a lot. Started to come alive towards the end. Maybe he was gaining some of that confidence once the pressure was honestly off him. Like it pretty much was, I think. Richardson, we both had it. We both said that he was not going to be this all-star that everybody thought he was going to be after watching him play 4 or 5 games last year.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Will Levis for me, at least. I've never been a fan of him, and I don't think he's ever going to be even better than average or even average in this league. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that we're going to see next year, we're going to see another quarterback take another step forward. I don't want to see these rookie quarterbacks take a step back and have another second year slump. for
For
quarterbacks.
sure. For sure.
Who is some teams that you would say is some of your biggest disappointments?
Yeah. So I got three in the AFC. I'll just talk about those first in the NFC after you go with your second one. Cleveland, Cincinnati, and the Jets are my top three in the AFC. Those were pretty clear cut. Cincinnati, even though they went 9-8, I think everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people had them not only making the Super Bowl but winning it, and
Mm-hmm.
I was never, on that. It honestly angered me to see how many people thought they were going to win the Super Bowl because, I mean, that defense is just terrible. But the team as a whole, the offense is so talented. To see them miss playoffs entirely, definitely a shock. And Cleveland, I mean, we're so sad of an organization. Make the playoffs last year. I believe we went 11-6. Got decimated by the Texans, albeit, but made the playoffs last year. Had a great season, and then you followed up with a 3-win season. Doesn't happen often. Unless you're a Cleveland fan. The Jets, we all thought they were going to be at least top two in the AFC East. A lot of people had them winning it. I was one of them. Um, yeah, and that didn't turn out well at all. So
The Bengals, obviously, I think are my biggest disappointment team because, yeah, they almost made the playoffs. They were like one game away from making the playoffs, which we probably wouldn't be talking to them as the biggest disappointment had they have made playoffs. But I think just the fact that you had a triple crown winner with Jamar Chase, and you had Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty throwing so many yards, breaking like leading the league, and the team doesn't make the playoffs. Um, Too bad Keith isn't here to talk about it, but I think he would have said that Zach Taylor needs to go.
yep, yeah,
There
he
needs to be
definitely
changes.
he definitely would have brought that up. I know he's talked about that for a while now, and I can't help but agree with him.
And the Browns, I have nothing to talk about with the Browns. The Jets, who was also my biggest disappointment, one of my biggest disappointments, the Jets and Rodgers just not on the same page. I mean, there was fights back and forth between general manager, owner, whatnot, and there was so much high expectations with Rodgers coming back from a torn Achilles. Rodgers was fully healthy this year, and many people, like you and I both, thought that they were going to make the playoffs, and here they are, 5-12.
Yeah,
Horrendous. I think this is going to be a make or break season for the Jets next year with Aaron Rodgers. It has, if he does stay there, but if Aaron Rodgers does stay there and they do this again, I think there's going to be really big questions on Aaron Rodgers.
yeah. I mean, how can there not be? As much as I love him, he has not been playing well at all, and he's already like 50 or however old he is, whatever. Um, his career is coming to an end as much as I
Yeah.
don't want to admit it. And the Jets need to make changes. They are somewhat already doing that by signing Aaron Glenn to be their head coach. But there's going to have to be more. So
Yeah. Who is, for the NFC teams, who is some of your biggest disappointments?
yeah, I really focused around two teams. One was Chicago, and that's because I personally thought they were going to be 9, maybe 10-win team. I thought coming into the season that offense looked great. Got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. They revamped the offensive line. Caleb Williams, number one pick, was looking great coming out of college. I thought there was no way that this offense could be bad, and sure enough, leave it up to the Chicago Bears to look bad with that talented of an offense. I think they're going to figure it out going forward. I think Ben Johnson is going to solve a lot of problems there. Defense is okay, or they're actually pretty solid. So that's why I think, in a couple more years with Ben Johnson's help, they're going to be a good team, just like I
Mhm.
expected this year. San Fran was the other one. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. I mean, this team went to the Super Bowl last year, and they come out this year and have what, 6, 7 wins. Um, they definitely dealt with some injuries, a good amount of them actually, but let's be honest. I mean, Ayuk when he was playing did not look at all what we thought he was going to be, especially after he got that bag. Debo, kind of a mid-season. Um,
Hmm.
CMC obviously was out for the year, which is their bread and butter. I mean, he when he goes down, they're a completely different team. But the biggest thing for me was Brock Purdy. I mean, yeah, you deal with some injuries here and there, but he wants what 40, 50 million, whatever it is a year. And he did not look like a 40, $50 million quarterback this year at all.
To recap with your Bears, I mean, the Bears, yeah, such high powered offense, what it looked to be on paper just did not pan out to be. And then for the 49ers, of course, again, another biggest disappointment. They don't make the playoffs after making the Super Bowl last year. I mean, you're a team that went 12-5, made the Super Bowl, and goes 6-11. Like you mentioned, Purdy, he's barely making any money,
Mm.
and he's projected to make this big contract, get this big contract. But the question is, was it Purdy that made the team look Purdy, or was it CMC that was making the team look good?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest question because CMC was injured all year. But where was the 49ers this year? Again, Debo's aging. Brandon Ayuk is, got this big contract and turned out to be nothing this year. George Kittle's getting up there in age. And again, injuries played a big role. And I think that's the biggest issue. I'd like to see one more season of Purdy there and
Agreed.
see really what it is. And if it turns out that he can bring this team to the playoffs, then yes, sign him. And sign him for a good extension. Maybe not a big extension, but a good extension. If he makes it to the Super Bowl, you got to pay him.
No, I certainly agree because the way I look at it, right, like we talked about the Bengals, where they might not be here if they made the playoffs, even as the
Mhm.
bottom seed. Honestly, for me with the Niners, if they just missed the playoffs, they probably wouldn't be here. But they only won 6 games. Like,
Yeah.
think about that. You went from the Super Bowl and honestly in a good position to win it to winning 6 games. I mean, that's I feel like more than injury because they still have a great defense. They still have a great offensive line. Kittle was probably one of the better tight. He was like a top three tight end this year in football. But outside of that, I mean, they did not look great. So
No.
Purdy, I agree with you. I want to see one more season, especially when the team's fully healthy, because I think we all know when they're fully healthy, they are a contending team. But there's definitely some question marks there.
Big question marks that will need to be addressed, not only this offseason, but also next season.
Yeah.
Last but not least, speaking of, do you have any more biggest disappointments or surprises that we want to talk about?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I guess it's time to go to the last segment of the show, and that is the final fantasy playoff draft. Now, of course, Keith isn't here, so we did draft again before the show. And take a look at the list. Sorry if it looks a little blurry. I don't know why it looks a little blurry, but it does. Hopefully, people can read it correctly. But again, last week I ended up winning, or 2 weeks ago, I ended up winning the week, 113.2 fantasy points. Coming in second was Gary with 92.84, and then Keith with 64.78, which means Keith, who has not won a single week, got the first pick. Gary got number 2, and I got the last pick once again. The running totals right now, I am in a lead with 300.3 points. In second is Gary, 27 points, just about behind, 273.22, and then Keith in third place with 260.94. Now, here was the biggest problem. Whoever got the third overall pick, we know was going to stress, and that was me.
Mm.
And I was stressing. Turns out I ended up getting a backup quarterback in Mr. Tanner McKee. I was going to get Carson Wentz, but the issue was is I was scared that Carson Wentz was going to knee down or fumble or something, which was going to give me negative points. At least if Jalen Hurts goes down, gets hurt, or whatever, Tanner McKee we know can do really good. So to end the show, really, just I guess talk about how we're feeling going into the Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, man. I had I guess when we talked about it, when we talked about our Super Bowl predictions before the playoffs started, I said I would have the Chiefs winning over the Lions. But at the beginning of the season, the two teams I was differentiating between to win the Super Bowl was the Packers and um, I'm sorry, to win the NFC was the Packers and the Eagles. And granted, they played each other. I don't think the Packers would have made it if they didn't play the Eagles, but Eagles make it. This is honestly probably one of the more common Super Bowls I would have expected. I'm going with the Chiefs. Beginning of the year, and now I said that they're going to win. The 3P is inevitable, no matter how many people don't want it to
Oh, we
happen.
don't we ain't talking predictions here. We don't have to predict anything. That's for the
Oh,
Sunday show. That's for the
oh,
Sunday show.
oh,
Don't
that's
no, yeah,
right.
we don't want to give
Well,
anything away.
okay. I might have been lying to anybody watching, but no, it's gonna be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. I know a lot of people are upset because of these two teams that got in, but if we're being honest, this is one of the better options we had to watch. So I'm excited.
How are you feeling with your fantasy picks? Do
You
you
know,
think you can bring home the gold here?
I do. I think if any of my players were to get injured prior, I have a lot of faith in EJ Jenkins to fill that role. No, no. I feel. I mean, I have to feel good with getting Mahomes, of course. I guess I have that positional value there. But you're up 30, almost 30 points, so that's where that window comes in. Um, I was happy that I got Xavier Worthy. I figured Keith was going to take him. Um, Before I could get him, but he took Hollywood Brown instead. I was really surprised at that. So I was happy he fell to me. I pretty much am rocking with the Chiefs as my entire fantasy team. So hopefully they do good. And John Dotson, I'm pretty sure caught a touchdown um, a week or two ago. He's got a touchdown in this playoffs.
Yeah,
So
I think it was wild card weekend.
maybe, yeah, I think it was the first game they played. It might have been, yeah, against the Packers, but I don't know. Maybe he can do it again. So we'll see. But I'm excited, man.
Don't worry, you have EJ Jenkins on your bench.
Exactly.
To give everyone a little joking rundown here, doing this show doing this drive before the show, EJ Jenkins is listed as a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. For anyone who wants to know, so we made sure that every quarterback, every running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, / punter, because there's only two kickers on the team, on one team, one kicker from one team. We did state every single player. So EJ Jenkins was the biggest talk the whole draft because we want to know who in the world this guy was.
I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him.
And Gary decided to take him. Well, at least we know Payne Hendershot. We know him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we know him.
Johnny Wilson. What was the joke that was talked about with Johnny Wilson? Oh, Keith said how he sounds like a
Sounds
cowboy.
like a cowboy. Yeah. No. I mean, I knew him from Florida State, so I know who he is. But
Wild. I'm nervous with Keith's team, to be honest, because he's got Hurts, Barkley, Brown.
how can you not be?
I mean, with Barkley alone, could easily put up 40 points.
Right.
So I think I got some mid-team players, but again, I have been winning every week, so I think
You have the lead.
I do have a solid lead, I will say. But can my team get 60 points? I don't know. I really don't.
I'll be honest with you. I think this is anybody's game here.
It really is. It is.
I really
anybody's
think
game.
it is because you have the lead over Keith. I have a slight lead over Keith, and I would 100% say that he's got the better team than mine. But I think mine definitely puts up a fight.
Mhm.
But you have the biggest lead out of us all. So I think right now, if you look at the scores and you look at the teams, I feel like they ended up mellowing out to the way it should be. You have the least talented team, but you have the most points already. So
Yeah.
I'm both middle, and Keith has the least amount of points, but he's got the best team. So we will see what happens. I think it's going to be a close race. So
It will very much be a close race. Very much so. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Again, we're going to be here on Thursdays. Definitely not Thursdays. Wednesdays every single week now at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So for anyone who wants to know, yes, I am in Europe and I'm doing this, and it's currently 1:11 in the morning.
You sound tired. You sound very, very tired. So I'm
Well,
going to let you go immediately.
Not only am I tired, my roommate, who is asleep, is right behind this wall. So I think right now it's time to go to bed. But
Right.
it was, in general, a really great show. We're here again, like I said, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And now we added a second show. First time in Sports Time HQ history. We got 2 shows in 1 week. We got Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Not a bad time for me. It's only 6 p.m. my time. So it's not bad. But again, if you haven't done so already, go to trophysmack.com/sportsttimehq. Go get yourself that ring, that belt, that trophy, whatever you need to really talk trash to your fantasy league mates. And of course, if you haven't done so already, go to Underdog Fantasy. Use that code SportsTimeHQ. They're going to pass your first deposit up to $1,000. Yes, that is code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. We got ourselves Jackson coming in late, but he says hey. We say hey back. Again, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and every Sunday at 12 p.m. Again, I was joined by my great co-host, Gary. Go follow him all over social media at GD Picks. And of course, Keith, he wasn't here this week. You can go follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. He should be back on Sunday. I'm your host, Fernando. You can follow us all over social media at SportsTimeHQ. And we are going to see you all next week on Sunday.